Hello, everyone. I am so glad to see all of you. Yes, I can see you. I can see through the lens. So welcome, welcome, welcome. This is Tuesday Tips. We are gearing up for our first annual event, which is a free throw-a-thon, and I am so excited. So the reason this is Tuesday Tips because we're going to be giving you tips on how you can be successful in the free throw-a-thon. Now, on today is one of the original Xtreme. And why is that so exciting to me is because Xtreme and the Coffey Foundation for Athletics and Education, we partnered up to put on this event. So to have the history and to have the people from Xtreme team to come on board, oh, that's just so exciting. So I am going to bring in Lillian Geerhing, one of the original Xtremes, to share some information, share her story, and to give you some tips. Lillian, welcome.
Hey,
It is so good to see you again.
Yes, always.
Yes. So of course, you know you're here because you're one of the original Xtremes, which is super exciting. But before we get into that, I want us to start where you are now, and then we're going to backstep into where you've been. So you're doing some amazing things in the world. So I want everyone to know who you are and what you're doing, and then just to share what you've been up to.
Okay. So my name is Lillian. Right now, what I'm doing with my life is I am a auto liability adjuster for Kemper Insurance. And when I'm not doing that, I still go work out all the time. That's just kind of embedded in me, I feel like. And then I'm also working with the girls with the Xtreme now to help them along the way to, have their experience the same way I had my experience. So just enjoying that ride with them.
Awesome, awesome, awesome. Now you played college basketball. Tell us about that.
It was definitely something that it was different. It was a moment in my life that I won't ever forget because it was life-changing, because you get to experience so many different things playing a college sport, because you're not just an athlete, but you're also a student at the same time. And it's different from when you're in high school, because in high school, you have your parents, you have coaches that get on you. In college, it's not like that. They're not going to constantly stay on you. It's your job to make sure you get the work done. It's your job to go into the gym and make sure you get shots up. So holding yourself accountable, it was a lot of fun being able to go on those long road trips with my teammates, going to Kentucky and Georgia and just going all up and down the East Coast and getting those life experiences with them.
And you said something that's super important that every athlete needs to know: holding yourself accountable. That is so important, and it's easier said than done. I know that. So share with our viewers some of the things that you did to help yourself stay accountable and stay on point.
So for myself, holding myself accountable, for instance, going to class. If you don't go to class, you don't get the grades, you can't play. And for me, it was, I want to be able to play. So I was like, okay, you got to go to class. You have to get things done. Holding myself accountable to the point where I'm going to go to bed at a decent time, because I know I have a 6 a.m. practice here within the next couple hours, making sure that when it comes to my schoolwork, that I'm getting the tutoring that I need if I'm ever struggling in a class when tutoring's offered. Any type of that, I can put myself in a situation that is going to make me better at the end of the day. Holding yourself accountable is something that I feel like it's a life lesson. It's not just in sports and school, but it's a life lesson in general, because nobody's going to do it for you. You have to want it yourself. So holding yourself accountable is something that I took away from just my sport in general, because even in the life that I live today, you got to hold yourself accountable to get up to work. No one's going to do it for you. And even growing up, when we were growing up as kids, coaches would always tell us, you got to do it yourself. You have to want it yourself. And that's one of the biggest things I probably ever took away, is like holding myself accountable to doing what I want to do with my life.
That's awesome, because if those are things that is important for the athletes to learn now, because as you said, once they get into college, no one is holding your hand to do that. It feels like it's hard when you're younger and your parents and the coaches are telling you to do it. I mean, it feels like so hard, and why do I have to do this? But as you said, once you get to college, you look around and it's like, no one's telling me to do anything. I got to figure this out. I got to be self-motivated. I got to know what my big picture is and my why, and I have to do it myself. So thank you for sharing that. That is just such a valuable piece of information to share with our viewers. Now, for me, I'm really big on building confidence and focusing. Whenever I start working with someone, those are the two areas that I look at first, because I feel like if I can help them build their confidence and they can really believe in their skills, then everything else is a little bit easier. And I say that word loosely, but once you get your confidence up, you're more empowered to do things. So share with us some of the things that you did to build your confidence and to maintain your confidence.
I worked. That is the number one thing, that it's not just going to come to you. In order to build the confidence that you need to go out there and make a certain move or to play a certain way, you have to work for it. You have to want it. So for me, it was, getting the training that I needed, making sure that I'm going to go to this hour-long workout that I really don't want to go to, but I'm going to go anyways, because it's what I need to get to where I want to be. And once you start to see yourself as a player, start to develop the skills that you're wanting to see as you go along, it's something that builds your confidence, and then you're like, okay, now I'm able to do this, but I can push myself to do something more. So you constantly want to get better at what you're doing. And for me, it was, like I said, just being in the gym constantly, just getting shots up, ball handling, anything that I could possibly think of, going to play pickup games, even if it's not, just at with your team, even going to a YMCA or something to get, a workout in, to run up and down the court, is going to make you better at the end of the day. And you get to use what you've learned along the way, and you get to practice it. You go to training and you do these things and you're like, okay, I can do this. But just because you do it in training doesn't mean it's always going to pull over into the game. You have to practice it. You actually have to go out there and use it in order to be able to develop it. And once you start developing it, that's when that confidence comes along, because you see the work that you put in. You're like, I can do this now. Like, I'm able to do this. And it makes you feel good inside, but then it also motivates you to want to continue to get better at what you're doing.
Awesome. And like I said, my other area is focus. I actually wrote a book, Focus Like a Champion, because that's so important for athletes to know, because once they build their confidence and then they learn how to focus, that's when they elevate their game. So share with the viewers how you maintain your focus.
I maintain my focus, truthfully, by taking out distractions. The world is very much, there's always going to be distractions. There's always going to be something that's going to throw you off your game. It's whether you want it or not. And I say that because you have to want to get better at something in life, whether it's a sport, whether it's a relationship, whether it's just building yourself. You have to want to do something to make yourself better. So wanting to focus on what I was focused on. So like my sports and basketball, my goal as a kid, always growing up, was I want to play college basketball. That was always my goal. So for me, it was, okay, there's going to be times where I have to take certain things out of my life to focus on what I need to focus on. As a kid, you see all your friends going out having fun, but I have to go to a tournament. I have a tournament this weekend, so I can't go. It's those sacrifices. But at the end of the day, I wouldn't go back and change what I did for anything, because I got to live out my dream, my goal of playing college basketball. And that was the number one thing for me, is that's what I wanted to do. And that was my ultimate goal at the end of the day. So I feel like once you set a goal for yourself and that's what you're focused on, you're able to find a way to stay focused. And if you lose focus, it's going to happen. People are going to lose focus at certain times, and it's okay to lose focus, but it's always, you have to remember the bigger picture at the end of the day. And I think growing up, that's one thing our coaches always told us, is you have to think big picture, not right now, but big picture. If you're going to want to play in college or wherever your next level is, what are you doing now that's going to help you to get to that next level?
Yeah. Awesome. Awesome. Great information. And you all can always listen to this over and over again, because she had some diamonds, some things that can really help move you forward. And that just kind of leads us on to the foundation, and why it's so exciting to have Lillian part of the foundation. When I was putting together my foundation, the D. Coffey Foundation for Athletics and Education, I had a lot of pieces in there. I'm a psychologist, and I do clinical and sports psychology. And then my brother is a coach, which we'll talk more about him in a little bit. So in putting the foundation together, I was putting things together that made sense. And one of the things that I put in there, after we work with these kids for a while and they get better and they live out their dreams, I'm like, how wonderful would it be for them to actually come back and teach the next generation? So that was in my business plan before Lillian actually did it, So that's why I was just so excited, because it's like I had this thought in my head that it makes sense and it would actually work. But okay, let's just work it, because we have to work it. But it started unfolding before I even put it into motion. So Lillian, she has actually went off, did her thing in college. She's successful, her job and her life. And now she's coming back to coach the Xtreme. But that's not even the exciting part. Lillian, tell them who your coaches were.
So my coaches was actually Coach Joe and my dad growing up. So I had two fathers basically in my life, my entire life, and I still do till this day. Anytime something's going on, I know exactly who's calling me or what's going to be the conversation.
Awesome, awesome. And tell us some of the things that went on back in the day. I like saying that, back in the day, and calling you an OG. She's only her 20 something, so it makes me feel good to call a young person an OG. But think back, because we established that Xtreme started 15 years ago.
Yeah.
Which made you 10. So now we're going to see how young your brain really is. Let's go all the way back. And just talk about some of the beginning days, some of the things that you all did as a very young child.
Goodness.
Very young athlete.
I remember growing up, we had practice. It was about either 2 to 3 days a week for about 2 hours in a hot gym. There was no air conditioning. The floor was super creaky. You might step on it, you might think you're about to fall through a hole, but we were there. And we had like one fan, but it was the relationships that we all built with each other in those times that
I think you froze up on us, Lillian.
you need something, they're there for you. But growing up, we would travel all over the place. They would take us all up and down the East Coast, making sure that we got seen by who we needed to be seen by. But at the same time, it was a thing where you learned life along the way. You learned life through playing the sport, because I think the biggest thing was playing basketball. You're going to win some, you're going to lose some. The same thing with life. And it was something that you had to take away, is you can either sit here. I remember coaches, they would tell us, they were like, you can either sit here and dwell on it, or you can get up and play the next game like you know how to play. And I think that's one thing taking away is that, you learned a lot about life playing the sport. Back then it was, oh, goodness gracious. It was fun. It was an experience that I think a lot of people should be able to live through and get to experience that bond that you have with your teammates, with your coaches, because there was times growing up where me and my teammates, we would be at each other's necks. We would be so mad at each other. But we knew when we stepped on the court, if something was to happen, she had my back. Every time we stepped on the court, she had my back. Even when we were mad at each other, it didn't matter. We were still there for each other. And that's the same way with the coaches. Even though sometimes, we thought we were gonna run a lot. It's terrifying. Oh my goodness. We would come back from a tournament a Sunday and, we'd be in the van on the way back, and it's the look on their faces. Sometimes you see the look on the coaches' faces and you're like, no one say anything. No one say you're hungry, because they're going to look at you like, well, did you play good? They wouldn't starve us. They would feed us at some point, but it was just, don't say nothing, because, here we go. It was, back then growing up, it's something that I absolutely enjoyed it. I loved every moment of it. There's times where, we'll sit down. I'll talk to some of my teammates this day and we'll just tell stories about when we were in Myrtle Beach and we were at nationals. We went to Florida for our big tournament. I still have the banner here in my room from when we went to nationals and we had to come out in front of like all hundreds of teams. So I still have that banner with all our names and numbers on it. So it's super cool to like sit there and look at it and you're like, oh dang, like, yeah, we were all there at that same time. Like, it's just super cool. And I just love the memories that came from it.
Yeah, awesome. That is just so good. And one of the things that I really loved about the team back then, Coach Ron, which is Lillian father, and then my brother, Coach Joe, which also had a daughter on the team, my niece. So, that's two people. You need more than two people to make a team. They would get other people in the community and in the surrounding areas that want to play. And then there was some girls that wanted to play and they were like really good, but they just couldn't afford to be on the team. So the thing that really touched my heart about Coach Ron and Coach Javonzo, Coach Joe, they would allow these girls to be on the team. And then whatever they needed, financially, clothing-wise, food-wise, they would provide those for the girls. And the beauty of it is the girls on the team, they didn't know any different. Everything just looked the same. So they were able to blend the girls in so they didn't feel like they were different or they didn't have. So that was a thing that was really, really appealing to me, which again, it kind of correlated with the foundation. Here again, I'm writing a foundation, I'm doing a business plan, I'm thinking about how can we help these underserved athletes? How can we help the people that are super talented and money is just standing in the way? So here again, an ideal, they are already doing it. So it's like, hey, the perfect combination. So this is awesome. So we are just so excited about this union to put on the Coach Joe Free Throw-A-Thon to raise even more money so we can help more people. What I found out is the need is really great in my hometown where Lillian is, and it's also great in the area where I'm living now. I've talked to coaches all over the states, and the need is everywhere. So with this foundation, as we grow and as we build, we can help more people. So Lillian, there's a lot of people registered for this free throw-a-thon. So give them some tips and some strategies so they can be successful doing this Coach Joe Free Throw-A-thon, which will be in September, by the way.
Right. If you don't want to start recording it just yet, I recommend practicing. If you want to get in it, I recommend practicing. I think having fun with it is the most important thing, though, because if you're not having fun, then, growing up again, if you're not having fun doing it, then what's the point? So I recommend having fun. I recommend getting your friends involved, because when you have more people there, it's always fun when you have someone there competing against you. At least for me, I can speak on that aspect. I love competing. I'm just one of those people that I always want to be number one. So having somebody there that's talking smack to you the entire time, it's like, okay, you know what, I'm gonna beat you because now you're talking smack to me, so let's go ahead and keep playing this game. So I recommend, making it a competition against you and your friends, but getting your friends involved is probably one of the biggest things, because you never know how much fun you can actually have with somebody doing it. I think that's my biggest one, honestly, just getting more people involved.
That's great. That's awesome. So you all heard it from the OG, how you can be successful. And if you have questions or, comments, put it in the chat. I'll go back through. And if you have questions specifically for Lillian, I'll make sure she get those questions. It's always good to hear from the younger generation and the older generation, because when you see that the perception is the same, you're more likely to kind of do things. When you're hearing from the coach, you just kind of think, coach, coach, coach. But when you're hearing it from a younger person who's gone through it, it's like, oh, they're telling the truth. So feel free to email me and say, this is for Lillian, and I'll make sure that you get it. Lillian, thank you so much. Thank you so much for coming on. Thank you so much for all that you're doing. And I'm looking forward to working with you as we grow Xtreme and the D Coffey Foundation.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
All right. Take care now.
Bye.
Bye-bye. All right. Thank you all for listening in. And like I said, if you have questions, put it in the comment. And the Coach Joe Free Throw-A-Thon is our first annual event. That's why I'm just so excited. It's going to be in September the 9th through the 17th. And if you want to get more information or register, you can go to extremeballers.com/fun. That's Xtreme with an X, ballers/fun. And I will see you on the other side. Bye for now.